everyone, I'm Marinus Astra of Song of Story. Today I'll be your host, Lady Astra. We're going to be taking a deep dive into my game, Arcanum, Incantatum, Arenas of the Mad Magi, and its impending Kickstarter launch. First and foremost, as you can tell, the game is already significantly underway in its development. What's the Kickstarter all about then? Well, this is the most basic version of the game. This is actually our demo copy, so there's still changes being made to it even further. As you can see, it's not a complete box. We don't have any side decals or anything. The board that's in here as well is a completely prototype board. It's mostly the cards that are finished and the beautiful cover art that we have on the front here. But in addition to all this basic material, the Kickstarter will be doubling the amount of cards that are already existent in the game. Either way, this game is going to get released. The Kickstarter is simply going to double the amount of content that is included in the box for purchase. That will include optional rules that you can work in at your leisure to increase the length of time that it takes to play the game, the complexity in which it takes to play the game, and even the player count. It can also give you access to solutions to certain problems with the main game that you might not personally care about, so you might not want to use those other mechanics because they're slightly more complicated and make the game slightly longer. But if you do care about them, maybe you want those mechanics. That kind of stuff. The 3 add-ons added to the game through the Kickstarter will have all new art. They'll have new tokens. 2 of them will even come with sideboards and all manner of things that will expand upon the core concepts of this game that are already existent in our first manufactured copy that we brought with us to the Dice Tower convention this year for the final round of playtesting. All of the add-ons will fit within the same box. As you can see, we're barely utilizing the space so far. In fact, we're even more underutilizing it because I have all of my cards in one Ziploc instead of separating them into 3 the way I should. Because they are 3 separate decks, simply because I know which cards are in the separate decks. I have my own little strategy. As you can tell, I have the backs of the cards here and here, as I use a little trick to separate them within the same bag and keeping them in an even tighter space. The box will also contain, if you donated enough and earned one of our rewards, where we'll be making or finding and buying some 3D pieces. But we're still working on that. Ultimately, we would like to make our own. But if that's not possible, we are going to find some nice 3D quality or 3D tokens of quality that we like to represent the candle markers and player markers and stun tokens that we have in the little Ziploc bag here, so that they will fit in this box as well, and you can have a nice little reward. And if we end up making our own, we're additionally probably going to be selling those as well as an optional thing you can get to expand upon the game. But these tokens seem to work fine. In fact, I have some people that actually prefer tokens instead of 3D markers. But in case you do prefer 3D markers, we are looking at making that an option, and that is one of the things that this Kickstarter is going to help with, is get some 3D renditions of these. A little fun fact about this game while I'm here holding up the pieces and whatnot is that we designed this game from the get-go to be completely colorblind friendly. Each icon in the game has a distinct shape related to it, or otherwise it has a distinct pattern to it. The elemental tokens are not simply colored, they have designs on them to make them differentiable, and the elemental icons themselves, as used on cards and the board, are the actual alchemical symbols for those elements. And when I say elements, of course, in this context, I mean air, fire, earth, water, and spirit, with their usual witchcraft alchemical style symbols. Even with our cards, which have the same basic template for their back, you might not be able to see it from way over there, but the main 2 types of backs that we have here, as well as all the other backs that will be worked in with the add-ons, have slight variations besides their colors, like this is brown and this is purple. The brown also has a hollow star, and the purple has a completely filled-in star that has texture and everything. So there's multiple ways to differentiate between the different elements of this game if you are colorblind. We're also working on trying to get some little icon references to add into the game, similar to certain pages of our expansion, just more condensed and turned into cards. Not expansion, our rule books. Sorry, misspoke. But all of those sorts of elements we are looking to include in this base version as well. As you can see, we also have the board in here. This is just the prototype board, so we are completely replacing this with a new one, right? This is simply the playtest version that we have been using, but this entire board is getting redone because, as you can see, this was clearly made by me in Photoshop and had no actual intent of being the final use product. Simply needed something to get going for the playtests earlier in the summer when we ordered the manufacturer copy, just to see how everything prints with the site where we will be ordering our game. That site is the Game Crafter. We have already set up our game there. This is where we ordered this current version, and they did a really nice job with it. None of the paint, or the ink rather, has wiped off or smeared or anything like that. The tokens, they cut out fine. Just like their disclaimer, there was a little smell to them at first, but that pretty much immediately went away as we played, and all the components so far have held up really nice. The cards, with all the amount of times that they have to be shuffled because of how quickly you go through them during a normal game, that's one of the things that the add-ons will actually have you do less of, is shuffle by expanding the size of the deck, obviously. It'll also preserve the quality of those cards the more you use them. But even with all the shuffling we had to do throughout the playtest, and the games I've played of it since that were not even for playtesting purposes, the cards are still holding up real well and they have not been sleeved. So overall, pretty good quality for the price, obviously, that the Game Crafter has. And if you donate at least $5 on the Kickstarter, you will get $5 off ordering any version of the game, any number of times that you want, from the Game Crafter. So if you want the print and play version and you donated at least $5, you're going to get $5 off. If you wanted the physical copy, you can get that one too, or that one instead. All of that. We're also, if we do add in 3D tokens, we'll rework the coupon or send out a new coupon code to everyone who got the first one to make sure that it also works for those 3D tokens. If they're even sold through there, I don't think that's where the 3D token specifically would be sold. But that's where the game itself is going to be sold, and you can buy it at your leisure online. Me and the card and iconography artist Allison are looking forward for this game to finally be released, because regardless if the Kickstarter is successful or not, at the end of the Kickstarter, this game will be released in some form. The Kickstarter is merely to determine how much content is in this main box. With your help, we hope to double it. Twice as many cards, twice as many tokens, and 2 additional player count. We're looking forward to it, so we hope you support us, because we'd really like to make this the game it can be in its full recognized potential. Thank you, everybody. I've been your host, Mariana Sastra of Song and a Story, and this is my game, Arcanum, Incantatum, Arenas of the Mad Magi by Lunar Sky Studios.